Hello everyone once again. This is a concluding lecture on the Excel charts session that you just underwent. I'll just summarize the salient points which you have already covered through various video sessions. So I'm Rishabh Pugalia and this is how we go about it. So I'm going to talk about thermometer chart, the multi-axis chart, the exploded pie charts, and the several tips and tricks that you saw earlier. To start with, in Excel you have the insert box where you find the different charts. In fact, in 2010 version of Excel you'll also find spark lines. Very easy to use. You may just type in Google search engine box spark lines and you'll find it's an amazing thing that has been introduced in 2010 version of Excel. It's a chart within a single cell. Barring that, what we are talking about initially was this is the chart area, and in the canvas of drawing, in the chart area, we can plot the chart. So the plot area is restricted to this gray area. So when we talk about chart area, we talk about the entire canvas. On top of the canvas we have the plot area. The legends speak about what each color of these bars or line graphs indicate. This is a vertical axis, this is a horizontal axis, and these are the data labels. Now why am I using these terms? Reason being, because in the chart layout settings you can specifically change these different settings for data labels, legend, axis titles, and the quick way to relate what each setting talks about is focus on this orange area. You notice carefully, this is a chart title. Axis title is on the vertical and the horizontal axis. The legend, which talks about each color of the series bar diagram, what does it talk about? The data labels, where you can place in the middle of the bar diagram or even on top of it. Now try activating data table. It also, as you can notice from the orange cell, it also exhibits the underlying data of the chart. The axis, how can you define the axis? Whether the increment of 10, 20, 30, 40, or let's say 5, 10, 15 in the increment of 5. The grid lines, it acts like a plotted graph at the background of the chart. And of course the plot area where you can change the background settings. So the trick is to be able to focus on these orange boxes wherever they have been pointed to, and that will give you an indication what each setting talks about. Now we spoke about this horizontal chart where we saw how we can highlight a particular diagram, series chart, and how can we change the axis value in the increments of 5 or in the increments of 10. We also change it from millions to billions. Instead of getting 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 million, we now get 10 billion, 20 billion, 30 billion. We also saw how can you change it to 1 decimal accuracy, all the data labels. So where are the applications? When you're comparing profits of different companies, sales of different companies, you can also compare GDP, population of the different countries which might be listed here, and as well as the funds raised, as we saw in this case, the different industries that raised funds. So this section talks about application. You can also take a printout of this PDF document that you have been provided with. The key steps have already been mentioned. So of course you go to the clustered bar diagram. The axis option will allow you to change these axis values, and all the 3 other features which I have pointed out in 3 bullet points. You can change the axis value, you can make the display units in thousands such that from millions it gets displayed as billion. You can also give 1 or 2 decimals accuracy. That was horizontal bar diagram. Next we go to thermometer chart. Now it looks very jazzy, and the reason being it removes all the clutter of the data in terms of numbers, and it simply shows you a comparison between 2 variables of same scale. Now you can talk about actual versus target sales, you can talk about actual versus budgeted sales, you can talk about last year versus this year, you can talk about my sale versus my competitor. So these are the application area. Mind you that the 2 variables have to be of same scale. You cannot compare GDP and inflation percentage. They are of different scale. One is in percentage and one is in absolute number, maybe $1 million or $1 trillion. The key steps, in fact you will require primarily 2 steps. One, you have to overlap these 2 bars on top of each other and make one as transparent. But once you make it as transparent, of course you can see what's behind this immediate bar diagram, but at the same time, to make this invisible bar diagram visible, I have to keep the borders very prominent. So here you go, the series must be overlapping and the fill should be no fill, and to make it visible you have to give a prominent border color along with width. So these are the settings. Next we go to the 2-axis chart. Now here, what are the application areas? When you're comparing two things of different scale, then you need to apply these 2-axis charts. So one talks about maybe sales, that is in absolute $1 million, and the other is in profit growth percentage. So percentage and absolute value, if you put that in the same axis, you'll notice the percentage values will be very minuscule, almost non-existent. Hence, just by changing the colors of the axis values and coordinating with the data labels, you can make it very easy to look chart for the users. So these are the application area. And the settings are, you must right click on the data series and make sure one of them is a secondary axis. Of course you have to change the other chart to a line graph. So that was 2-axis charts. Next comes exploded pie chart. Now there are two examples. One, you can take out one slice. You can take out all these slices individually. Now the settings have been provided through these two pictures. Either you can go to format data series, or you can also hold your mouse, click on any one of these slices and take it out. Now I've explained that in the video, the trick to be able to explode all of them together using mouse. So if you are comparing, let's say, head count of different departments, maybe source of funds, maybe sales origination, which department is selling how much quantity, or maybe what kind of sales in terms of monetary value. So that was exploded pie chart. Next, a trend line. Now we saw how to put this axis labels on top so that they do not interfere with the negative values. Using the function key F4, we were able to repeat our last action, and this dotted trend line gives a very neat look towards the overall scenario. So this is the trend line chart along with the profit and loss exhibit. Next, towards the last, we have 80-20 principle chart. Now why do I say this is an 80-20 principle chart? Because you can clearly see if I'm making, let's say, certain amount of sales, it might be contributing a larger than proportionate share of profit. So basically, if I'm talking about let's say Asia Pacific, sales wise it is less compared to the total sales, but in terms of profit contribution it is more. So this is where we see how much contribution towards sales and the proportionate contribution in profit. So the trick is, you have to take the 100% stacked column chart. In case the chart doesn't look like this, you also try this button which is called switch row and column, which will ensure that these two axis values are interchanged, and this is how the final exhibit looks like. So friends, this was a quick recap of all the charts we have discussed. Of course, this is not the end of the charts, but yes, these are the most popular ones, the 2-axis charts and the thermometer chart and the exploded pie chart. I'm Rishabh Pugalia and hope you enjoyed this program. A much more extensive program on advanced Excel is also available on this link. Hope you enjoy. See you in the advanced Excel program. Thanks a lot for your patient listening.